Every mom needs to rehab her body after every pregnancy. This is a point that I feel especially passionate about. However, with the rising cost of healthcare and cost of living and just inflation in general, what if moms can't afford that health care that they need? Well, that's the topic of the video. I just wanted to jump in here and record this quick live call, this quick live video, and just kind of establish basically 2 points with this. I wanted to talk about the importance of moms taking the time to care for themselves and rehab after pregnancy. And then, second, to introduce you into some options that exist to make that available to you. You do not have to break the bank in order to get that care. And I want to tell you again just about some of the options that are available for you, some of the options that exist out there. And so, point number one, and this is, I just can't stress this enough. Moms need healthcare. Moms need to rehab their bodies after every pregnancy. I'm Dr. Jared. I have been a physical therapist for 14 years. I have been a postpartum specialist for the majority of those. During that time, I've worked with over 10,000 women to help them to rehab their bodies, to help them to heal their core, to heal their pelvic floor, and even get in shape after pregnancy. I understand the importance of making that happen. I understand the importance of moms spending time and taking those steps in order to do that, in order to achieve those outcomes. Some of the things that immediately come to mind, but you might ask, like, what are the benefits? Why do I need to spend that time, Jared? I hear about the importance of postpartum rehab, but why would I specifically need to do that? And just off the top of my head, a lot of the things that come to my mind is we get episodes of less back pain. As we rehab our body, as we train that deep core, we get to take care of the lower back because the lower back is more supported and more stabilized as those muscles become stronger. Less incontinence. Moms, if you are terrified of coughing, sneezing, or laughing, or lifting heavy because you do not want to leak, there are things that you can do about that. And there are things that you should do about that. You should not have to live with that fear. And again, postpartum rehab and pelvic floor rehab and pelvic floor muscle training are going to help you with that. Other orthopedic issues, hip pain, SI joint pain, all can be treated with the right exercises in the right progression. And basically what I'm getting at is if we were to group everything that I've said together in one large whole, what I'm getting at is, moms, you can show up better. You can show up better for yourselves. You can show up better for your families. There are things that you can do in order to function better and move better and lift better and be stronger. And it's amazing when a woman comes in, and again, to see me as a postpartum PT, as we work together and as we train and as she goes through these steps, the transformation that takes place is remarkable. And yeah, we get to talk about closing diastasis recti. We get to talk about less episodes of low back pain. But really, the reward and the most just incredible part of my job is when the mom comes in and says, "Hey, Jared, guess what? I was able to lift up my baby seat without any low back pain." Or like, "Hey, Jared, guess what? I actually jumped on my trampoline with my toddlers and I wasn't worried about leaking." Or, "Jared, guess what? I was able to go on a walk with my kids. They were riding their scooters and I was able to go on a walk with my kids and my hip didn't hurt as I made that wrap around, or that lap around the block." Those are the types of things that are meaningful, and those are the types of things that are impactful. And I think a lot of times, moms, we just kind of get this idea of, well, I've had a baby. I guess this is who I am now. I've had a baby, and I guess, like, oh, back pain is just a part of life now. I've had a baby, and every time I stand up, I might leak a little bit. That's just what happens. Ladies, it's not. And there are things that you can do to rehabilitate and to just get back to that previously enjoyed level of function. That is the importance of this postpartum care that I'm talking about. And ultimately, if I were to say, like, one benefit that's probably my favorite above all others, is the amount of confidence that I see returning to moms who take the time to care for themselves, to improve their strength, improve their function, improve their muscle coordination. The amount of just confidence that returns in their lives, and the happiness and the smiles and the look on their face as they tell me these stories. Ladies, It's immeasurable. Every mom needs to rehab her body after every pregnancy. This is a mountain that I will die on because I am passionate about it and because I have seen the effects of it. It's incredible. I do want to mention here also, it doesn't matter how long it's been since your last pregnancy or since you last had a baby. If you haven't done anything to rehab your body, you are still going to see benefits from it. I have worked with ladies who are 1 year postpartum, 5 years postpartum, 10 years postpartum, even 20 years postpartum. These ladies will come in and they'll say, well, I have low back pain. And we'll look at it and we'll like, well, you have diastasis recti. No wonder you've got a weak core. And they're like, what's that? Up to 20 years plus, ladies, you can still see improvement from this. And those are some of my favorite stories. I think off the top of my head, I had a woman come in who was 8 years postpartum, and I pointed out the diastasis recti, and she's like, oh man, like, do you have a good surgeon that you recommend? I need to get this fixed. And I said, no, no, no. Let's do everything that we can to avoid that surgery. And let's take some time to do some of these rehabilitative exercises instead and see how far we can go with that. And I'm very proud of her. She made incredible progress. We took a 3-finger abdominal separation down to 1 finger, and she made more progress than she ever thought possible. So do not think like, oh, just because it's been 10 years since I had a kid, that you are exempt from this conversation, that this conversation does not apply to you, because it absolutely does. Ladies, point number 1, moms need healthcare. This is significantly underserved, especially here in the United States. In Europe, they are leaps and bounds ahead of where we're at. But here in the United States, the postpartum population and you moms are so underserved. You get that one visit at your 6-week follow-up or 8-week follow-up where you see the doctor for 10 minutes and he says, you're clear, good luck, and I'll see you at your next pregnancy. It's just something, again, I feel very passionately about it. That's why I work with women. That's why I became a postpartum PT, was because I felt like that was an area that was so underserved. Ladies, you deserve better. Okay, so that's point number 1. Moms need healthcare and moms need postpartum rehab. Point number 2 is healthcare is getting expensive. We talk about inflation. We talk about cost of living. I actually did a little bit of research before I jumped on this call. These are just, again, some points that I wanted to make. The cost of milk in 2018 was $2.89. In 2022, it was $4.09. Cost of gas in 2020 was $2.17. You guys remember when it was $2.17? In 2022, we're up to around $3.95, $4. Interest rates, that's one that is especially a hot topic right now. Below 2% in 2020. You remember that? Those were fun times. Interest rates below 2%. They are up to about 7 to 8% today. That is a 3 to 4x increase in that. But let's talk about well, what's really relevant to this phone call or to this live video right now. Cost of healthcare. And again, doing some research on this, in 2010 in the United States of America, Americans spent $2.59 trillion on healthcare, and that's in 2010. Okay, and so now flash forward, the most recent stats that I found were in 2022, $4.47 trillion. And so nearly double what it was back in 2010. And I think that all of us have probably felt that. All of us, like every year, it's fascinating. We just expect deductibles to go up. We just expect copays to go up. We just expect the premiums that we pay to go up. It's just kind of this given. And like year by year, it might not feel like that much, but some years it certainly jumps a lot more than others. And when we zoom out and we look at it on a macro level, it's certainly significant. Healthcare is getting more expensive, just like the cost of living is getting more expensive. And because of that, I feel like that is a big deterrent to women, to keep them, that is keeping them away from going in and getting the care that they need. And so, for example, like personally, as a physical therapist, if you wanted to come see me live and in person, I actually don't work with insurance anymore, and it's fantastic. That's a whole different topic of conversation. $200 for your first session with me. And ladies will say, "Holy cow, that is so expensive." I know it absolutely is, but I had to keep increasing costs in order to kind of cut down on the demand, like supply and demand. Anyway, we won't get into that too much. It's expensive to work one on one with a physical therapist. And if you've looked into that before, you know, okay, when I go see a PT, probably going to have a copay with that, and they're probably going to bill my insurance. My copay is going to be probably, excuse me, between 50 to $70, and then my part that I'm going to be responsible for after insurance and everything is probably going to be another 50 to $70. We're looking at probably around $125 to $150 per session. It's pretty expensive. And especially when you kind of like add on to that, your PT will probably want to work with you multiple times, at least one time a week, probably more likely two times a week, ideally three times a week. I remember back in the day, back when I very first graduated from PT school, we could say things like, "Hey, I need to see you three times a week." And people would say like, "Yeah, I got a $10 copay. That's not a problem." But anymore, if we say, "Hey, I need to see you three times a week," and you're like, "I've got a $70 copay. I can only afford to come in one time," it's very, very real. It is very real. And like across the board, you look at the numbers across the board in physical therapy, visits are going down as the cost of visits are going up. And it makes sense that people just can't afford to do it. And so, again, point number one, moms, you need to rehab your bodies after pregnancy. But point number two, healthcare is definitely more expensive. So, what do we do, Jared? Like, you're telling me that I need to come in for physical therapy, that I should see a PT. You're telling me that increased strength and less low back pain and less episodes of leakage, and yes, even greater confidence is right on the other side of that PT and rehab. But I can't do it because I can't afford it. Ladies, I understand. Like, I get it. These are the conversations that I have with people each and every single day. And that's why I wanted to jump on this live video right here, is to simply tell you, you know what? Other options do exist. And hopefully to just kind of educate you and open your eyes and think to yourself, like, oh, like, yeah, I can't walk down that path because that's a little more expensive. But you know what? This path over here is another option. And so that's what what I wanted to talk about. And the way that I like to explain this, think about it like a pyramid. Okay. And so we get at the very tippy top of that pyramid, that would be a one-on-one live session with a physical therapist, right? That is going to be the most expensive, but in my experience, that is also the most effective, meaning you will get the biggest bang for your buck. You will get the biggest results and the best outcomes by working one-on-one with a physical therapist who can assess your individual needs and can prescribe a treatment plan for you for that. Okay, most effective, but also most expensive. And so if you're saying to yourself, God, you know what, I probably can't do that, let's go down to the next tier in this pyramid. And this is where we start to talk about virtual sessions. And I do offer virtual sessions. I unfortunately can't take any more new clients at this time. I've closed down my waiting list. It grew to a point where it was too long. And I was like, this is dumb. Like, I'm not offering anybody any good by putting them on a waiting list for this long. And so waiting list is shut down. But you can, again, pursue that with other providers and with other physical therapists. You can jump on and you can do virtual sessions with them that are going to be less expensive than that in-person option. Next, underneath that, we're going down to the next level of the pyramid, would be group sessions. If you don't mind jumping into a group with other ladies who are like you and who have similar problems as you, you can get even less expensive healthcare if you're willing to do that. Let's go down even one more tier. This is where we start to talk about programs and applications and things like that. Things that are created by postpartum PTs and by personal trainers that are going to help you to, again, get to those outcomes and get to those goals. This is where we stepped in. Basically, as I realized I had more to offer. I wanted to work with more and more people, but couldn't do it at, again, this one-on-one basis. And so this is where we created the Mommy Tummy Fix program. And this is where we created the Mommy Tummy Fix app. I basically put all of the postpartum rehab all of the fitness and weight loss, everything that moms need in order to accomplish those goals, I built into the Mommy Tummy Fix app. And with that Mommy Tummy Fix app, you get core rehab, you get at-home cardio type sessions, you get at-home strength training sessions, and then you also get the opportunity to jump on group calls. And so we've actually included that kind of that one tier up in the pyramid. We've included that with the Mommy Tummy Fix app, that you can join us not only in the app, but you can also join us for weekly group sessions where you can ask questions, where you can get unstuck, where you can stay in momentum. Basically, we tried to pack as much value into this thing as possible. So again, if you want to learn more about that, mommytummyfix.com. It's also linked in the description. We hope you check it out. We would love to be able to work with you. But again, apps and programs, right? But then underneath that, and unfortunately, this is the one where I feel like a lot of people go to. A lot of people will say, well, like, okay, I can't do PT. I'm going to come down to the very, very bottom of this pyramid. And that is fitness influencers. Okay, I'm going to jump on Instagram. I'm going to jump on YouTube. I'm going to jump on TikTok. I'm going to find somebody and I'm going to follow her and I'm going to do some of those workouts as well. Those are, well, I kind of have some mixed feelings about this. You can find really good ones and you can also find really bad ones. And unfortunately, I feel like the majority of them out there are not as good as they should be in order to profess the results that they're professing to. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but what I would encourage you to do is if you jump into that world and if you say like, oh, well, I'm just going to jump on Instagram and find an influencer, please, please, please make sure that it's a mom. It's someone who has had a baby in the past that can give you a little more guidance and a little more results. I say it all the time. Fitness after pregnancy must look a lot different than fitness did before pregnancy in order to be effective. And if you jump in and if you follow someone who has never had a kid and is making these recommendations, that can actually cause a lot more harm than good. So please be mindful of that. And then also needs to be someone that has some postpartum experience. So please be just aware of that as well. Just that, again, like we need it to look different after pregnancy. Not all influencers, not all fitness programs are created the same way. Just be very mindful of who it is that you follow. And so again, that's kind of the pyramid that I like to go through. We talked about in-person sessions, virtual sessions, group sessions, apps and programs, and then influencers at the bottom. And so if you can't necessarily afford that live in-person session, please understand that other options exist. And again, I mentioned our Mommy Tummy Fix app. If that's something that you would like to look at, my goal was very simple when I put that together. I said, I need to create the most effective program out there to help moms to accomplish their postpartum goals. Again, a very simple goal, but no, I'm obviously being a little bit facetious. Simple goal, but like you moms deserve the best. And if we can't have the best, again, we've established the importance of that postpartum rehab. If we can't have that up at the top, there needs to be some other options available. And so hopefully that's what I've done with this quick live video is bring that to your attention and say like, okay, there are some other great options that are out there that are still going to get you to those outcomes and still can get you to those results that you're ultimately pursuing. And so again, we would love to work with you. If that's something that you're interested in, head over to mommytummyfix.com. Again, the whole program that we have is all app-based. You can download our app on the App Store. You can download it on the Android Store, on the Google Play Store, and we can get started. We can get started working with you. If you have any questions, any comments, leave them down below in this video. We love to hear the comments from you ladies. We love to interact with you. We'd love to help you out however we can, answer questions if we can. Hope you have an incredible day, and we will talk to you again soon. Thanks, ladies.